Now, we've had leaks in terms of Warzone Season 3 about where it's going, and it looks like that essentially Black Ops Cold War style refresh, right? So there'll be sort of a communist Soviet Russia style to the buildings. It will still be Verdansk. It'll almost be like a reskin. That doesn't mean there won't be new areas. From what I've seen from the leaks, there's stuff like new bridges, and obviously with that will come new weapons and vehicles, but this is very much still Verdansk, just not quite as you know it. And I think that's exciting, right? Because it needs a change. It needs a refresh because people are bored of it. I know it like the back of my hand. I know the exploits and where people are going to be, and it's created a sort of familiarity to the combat rhythms, right? And so I think that'll bring a freshness to the pace of play. People won't quite know what to expect anymore. There'll be different sort of tactics and strategies around how you use the new environments and assets to your advantages. And to be clear, Verdansk, I love Verdansk. It's one of my, if not my favorite battle royale map. But it's been over a year now, and Verdansk has changed very little. Like, we've had the stadium open up. We've now got zombies running around different areas of the map. But for the most part, if you compare it to other games like Fortnite or Apex, Verdansk has by and large changed the same topographically, right? So yeah, for me, for Warzone Season 3, I want Verdansk, but I don't want Verdansk, if that makes sense. I want a different map, but one that is just as fun and compelling and technically impressive as Verdansk. And I think it's that map is so intrinsic to Warzone that we're never getting rid of it. But at the same time, the changes that it looks like Raven are bringing in should be really interesting and make for a nice sort of mix-up of what we know and love already about Warzone.
I want to get killed by some different guns. I think the worst thing that's happened to the game in the last 12 months is just these really established metas have sort of risen to the top, and you see players using a set of guns and nothing else. So Warzone has such a broad array of weapons, so many different class types, variables because of its attachments and what have you. And, it's a shame that more of these aren't being utilized. Now, I at least recall pre-integration being killed by a variety of different weapons, which is good because it means that when you're being shot by a random weapon, you need to adapt your playstyle, you need to adapt your tactics, and actually try and work against what other players are throwing at you. Whereas in its current iteration, I know what the FFAR sounds like. If I hear it shooting at me, I know that I'm basically dead and there's nothing I can do about it because it is impossible to be at a certain range. I do hope, however, that a new map, which has been heavily rumoured, will help us get a little bit closer to how the game was when it first launched in terms of its variety and weapon selection. New map should change sightlines, verticality, tactics, and try and work out what works for them in the context of a new space. You've seen that work really well in Rebirth Island, which was, introduced quite recently, and it's cycling in and out as a limited time mode often with Resurgence game type, and I love it. For me, it's been great fun. In that, you see different weapons always pushing through. It's, I get killed by so many different types of guns in that thing. It's mad, and I love it. It just shows how important new maps can be just to bring in some new vitality to a game. So for me, with Warzone Season 3, I just really want to see a return to the chaos that was so inherent in the game back in its earliest days.
So what I would like to see in the next season of Warzone is just an absolute gluttony of new music tracks in the Battle Pass. One of the best things about the last few seasons of Warzone has been the music tracks that come and you can unlock in the Battle Pass. These have included the likes of Rick Astley's I'm Gonna Give You Up, Aha's Take On Me, Skrillex's Bangarang. There's all these songs which I can now play while I roam Verdansk, nobly failing to get any kills, but it still increases the kind of surreal blockbuster feel of matches. Some of my favourite moments in the game in recent seasons have been being chased by somebody while Take On Me is playing in the background, or dropping a helicopter onto a train while Cherry Pie is playing. And it's just this sort of feel that I think is really important for the game as it gets older and we get used to it, because it keeps things feeling fresh. Like, I have been in every area of Verdansk now more times than I care to think of, but having it recontextualized by these songs and just gives it a little extra kick in the action. And I'd also love to see ways of integrating the music more into the game. At the moment, I can only hear these tracks I've unlocked by hopping into a vehicle. It'd be great if there were ways where if you could go into a specific building, you could hear a specific song, for instance. And again, just really increase the sheer dumbness and surreality of this, because at its best, Warzone is a kind of Hollywood simulator that lets you create these magic movie moments, and I'd love for it to continue delivering those.
I could say something like more varied gun meta, or a really cool new map, but it's already been done before. I want to see more ridiculous new skins. I love the playfulness that has slowly started to show in the more recent Warzone skins. I think that Warzone Season 3 should just lean into that a little bit more. I mean, we all saw what happened when Warzone went a little bit too far down the path of military realism. We got the Rook Rose skin, which is duty. I mean, it's cool, it's very tactical, it's matte black, it's full body, her face is covered completely, but she's impossible to see in most areas of the map that aren't completely outside in the sun. And a lot of people fairly argued that, you know, it's a little bit of an example of pay to win, since that skin was available only if you reached tier 100 of the Season 5 Battle Pass. And if you couldn't reach that, you could just pay to reach that. And then you had the skin that's really, really hard to see. Meanwhile, I wear a skin that is literally the brightest thing on the map anytime I'm wearing it. It is the Park Glam skin. You're gonna see me coming from a mile away, because I'm fabulous. And I think when Warzone started bringing in more Black Ops skins and having a little bit more fun in general, it just made things a little bit lighter. And I think more colorful, vibrant, irreverent, silly, flamboyant skins are necessary. They're especially fun for someone whose identity, you know, is a little bit more out there, like myself. And it kind of feels like you can represent yourself the best way possible when playing Warzone. Now, again, I don't want Fortnite. I don't want to play as literally Batman. I don't care about that. I like the Warzone skins that are very obvious evocations of pop culture stuff without flat out being pop culture stuff. You know, for instance, Charlie's Outrider skin, which is very obviously just Sigourney Weaver as Ripley in Aliens. That's cool, that's fun. If the new map is going to be probably an 80s version of Verdansk, then why not just lean more into the 80s stuff? I think it makes Warzone as light as it can be. And yes, it's still competitive. Like, I still want to win. I want to win so that you have to see my absolutely ridiculous skin getting evac'd in the helo. I want you to have to watch that, and it makes it fun. But it also makes getting assassinated by someone who has like 90 pounds of hairspray in a big bouncy blonde blowout funny. It's funny. You can't get that mad. If you get assassinated by a Rose Brooke skin that you didn't see or hear while you were hanging out in a house, that's frustrating. But if you see my big gaudy ass come running at you and then you die, I mean, I have to laugh. Anyway, I think that Warzone Season 3 should have even more fun. It's going to be pulling further away from Modern Warfare and closer to Black Ops Cold War, so let's just do that. Let's do that with our skins. Let's have even more fun. Mullet skin on a girl when? Am I right? Or am I right?